Hello everybody, Bruce here with a video tutorial on the multi-sided die example given in Chapter 10 of the textbook. Now, Chapter 10 talks about classes, and what we can do with classes are to create objects. And objects are things that know things about themselves and can do things. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, hey, what about functions? Can't functions do that? Well, no. Once you run a function and it does its thing, then it's over. It's done. So what you're going to find with classes is that you can create, in this case, a die or dice, as I'll show you, which know things about themselves and can do things, right? So you all know, like, the typical die that you play games with has 6 sides, right? And I know some of you who are gamers have those multi-sided dice that have more than 6 sides, right? So what if you wanted to create multiple die using programming? Right? That's where we would use a class or a template that's able to create die, okay, in this case, that know how many sides each one of them has and be able to see what value was rolled, right? And like what value is showing up, facing up. Make believe you rolled a die on the table, right? To see what value that die was, right? So let me dig in here to show you what's going on. So we're going to be using the random library, specifically the rand range method, to do a couple things. So the first thing I'm going to call your attention to is this syntax right here. It says class. That's a new keyword in Python for us. And then multi-sided MS die. Now, when you create a class, you typically capitalize, right, the first letter of the class. And since this was multi-sided, I just left MSD as all uppercase and then die, okay? Now, this is going to define the template, kind of like a cookie cutter, right? When you like cut cookies, right? They're all the same, right? So this is going to be the template we're going to use to create a multi-sided die. Now, you're probably looking and you're seeing some function definitions inside of the class, and they're indented below this colon here, right? Anytime you see a colon in Python, the lines below it are going to be indented at least one level. So here you see a function definition, and then you see this odd name here. It's underscore underscore init underscore underscore, right? And then you see this word called self, and then the variable here, sides. So you're probably like, what the heck's going on, right? So just so you know, when you create a new object, or you initialize a new object, or you instantiate a new object, right? When you create it, you need to do some things. Like in this case, when we create a new die, and by the way, this self, okay, this self parameter here refers to the object we are working with. And I haven't gotten to that yet, but just know it's called self. In other languages, it's called this, and then, just bear with me for a second, okay? So here we are saying, hey, the parameter sides that you passed in when you created this new object, and just know we haven't created anything yet because we're just laying out the template for a new die. And then we're saying, hey, this thing you just created, hey, self, assign the property sides with the value of the number of sides passed in when you created it, when you instantiated it, when you constructed this particular instance of a die. And then the value, which is kind of, when you have a die, it's say 6 sides, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just setting the initial value of that die to 1. That's kind of like the side that's facing up. Okay, so let me just show you one thing here. And I'm going to create a new function called main. And I'm going to say die1 equals ms die. And then I'm going to say, because you don't include self, you don't include any parameters for there, but I'm going to say, hey, create a 6-sided die. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to run it just to show you. And poof, absolutely nothing happens. Right? That's okay, because we didn't print anything out or do anything. But now we have this object here called die1. Die1. A lot of the stuff is like the stuff you used in the graphics library, right? You created a square, a circle, a line, a point, whatever, right? And that point knew things about itself. It knew its XY coordinates, right? So now if I say, hey, print out die1, actually, you know what I want to do? Type. I want to show you what type, what data type die1 thinks it is. Ready? Let's run it. And whoops, what happened here? Did I not do it? Run. Restart. What's going on here? Python supplemental code. What happened? Print out type of die1. Oh, guess what? Haha, you need to call main. You've all been there. I do it too, right? Here we go. Ready? So it says that it is a class. Do you see this right here? It's class, and it's built off of MS-die. Okay, that's good. So what if we did this? Hey, let's see. Hey, print out die1 dot value, right? So it's going to go up, look at itself, and look at its value property and say, hey, I'm a 1, right? So check it out. There it is. It's 1. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is show you. Let's take die1. Actually, before I do that, let me show you up here. So the next thing we want to do is create something that can be done to the die, right? So unlike a property such as size or value, roll is a method. It's something we can do to the die. And we're going to say, hey, die, and take yourself and set your value to a random number between 1 and the number of sides you have plus 1. I think you remember why that is, right? Because it's going to go, say it's 6, it's going to go to 7 here. And it's going to go up to but not include 7. So that's why it's 1, 7 in rand range, right? So that says, hey, take yourself and set your value, right, which you hold on to, because we did that right here. Set your value to this new number. So I'm going to say, hey, die1, roll yourself, and notice the parentheses because it's a method. And then I'm going to call print. I'm going to say die1.value again, and let's see what it is. Right? That's after we rolled it, right? So it was 1, and now it's 4. You see that? And if I do that again, if I just do die1.roll, and then I print out its value again. Value is a property, so you don't need parentheses after it, right? And I'm going to say run, right? And there it is. Now it's 5, right? You could stick that in a loop and roll it a million times if you wanted to. I don't care, right? So the next thing I have is something that says, hey, get your value. Okay, so we could do something like this. See, I did it this way, where I said take the object and get its value property like that. You can also do it using methods. So you're going to say die, let's call it die value equals, actually let's make it die1 value equals, right, get die1, that's the object, dot get value, and it's a method, open close parentheses, and let's print out die1 value. So it should be the last number here. It should be the same thing, just so you know. Okay, so 3 and 3, that's correct. Okay, and then we could do the same thing here with set value, where we take ourself and some value we pass to it and say, hey, make the value of die1, say, let's break some rules here. Check this out. I'm going to say, hey, die1. Okay, set value is the method, parentheses. Again, we don't include anything for self because that's implied. And then we're going to set it to 10. And then we're going to say die1 value equals die1. We'll call the method get value. Okay, get value. And then we'll print it out, die1 value. Okay, ready? Check this out. Ready, run. And now it's 10, because that's what I set it to, right? Now, pretty cool, right? Now, a couple things. I know I'm saying now a lot, but please forgive me. When you want to get information about an object, you typically name the first three, the first three letters of the method name to get, right? Get. And when you want to set the property of an object, you use the word set. Okay? So getters and setters, that's what we call these things, okay? And roll is just a method, so we don't need to do anything with that. And let's do one more. Check this out. Let's say die2 equals create a multi-sided die and give it, I don't know, 100,000 sides, okay? Now, I'm going to say, hey, die2, roll yourself. And then I'm going to say, hey, die2 dot get value, get your value. And I'm just going to wrap that in a print statement here, because I can. And let's see what we get. Okay, so notice I created a second die using that template that has 100,000 sides. And the face value is 32,374. And if I run it again, right, it's 24,415. So what I want you to do is play around with this class. Okay? Remember, let me just give this some context here. Do I? Let's see. Actually, do me a favor. This is right from the textbook, so I want you to go through, read the information on creating the multi-sided die, and then go through this video again and ask any questions. Okay? So it's going to take you a couple watches to really understand what's going on here. So it's not like a function which does something and return something maybe, or print something, right? This is something when you create an object, again, just like you did in chapter 4 with the graphics window, you're creating your own objects and you get to define what values they hold, what things that they can do, and their methods, what you can do with them, all right? So I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.